Yep.
Awesome. Okay, welcome to the Storage API Sync. Today we're going to talk about the progress on the Relayer app. Serge, if you want to go ahead and start off, please.
Yep, let me share my screen. Today I will show you one PR that was merged today. It was dedicated to powerchains. And then I will show you my current active branch and what progress I have there. So last time I showed you this same branch, but there were a lot of changes during last week. So you can see my screen, right? Okay, these are a few updates for CI because CI was failing today with nightly. So yeah, Nazar told me to specify this version and it worked well. Palette feeds, no changes basically. And I have added some ESLint configuration, additional rule for read-only fields. Yeah, these dependencies I already mentioned. I added node fetch so we can make HTTP requests and fetch parablocks. Pino is a logger and Pino Pretty is to print like colorful logs, also related to logger. Okay, then config. We have a source chain, kusama, and we have array of powerchains. Currently, I specify name of the powerchain like this, hard-coded. Later, I will get them dynamically from the RPC API and maybe store in the powerchain class. And yeah, not many changes here. So index file, we have target, it's all the same, and we create source instances. So I have added powerchains map. So now we store powerchains as a property in the source chain, and I will later show you what this create powerchains map does. Yeah, some minor changes here for readability. This is logger. Yeah, this is a new parachain class I created. So it stores parachain feed ID, parachain RPC API endpoint, chain name I already showed you, and it also has a logger. So these are read-only fields. Yeah, and what it does, it only fetches parablocks. Same as before, but now it returns observable instead of promise. So we can pipe this observable into other observables in the source class. Yeah, we had discussion why that we need to know why a response may fail. So I have added like checking if response is okay. That means if status code is 200. So if it's not 200, we throw an error. And we also check, last time I mentioned that sometimes I receive okay response 200, but JSON has result with a value of null. So I check that too. And if it's null, we throw an error. And here I have implemented retry. So if we have one of these errors, we do 3 attempts to retry, and it actually solved the problem. So far, we are fetching blocks. Okay.
There is
So
still timeout support missing there, and it's always useful to actually print the body of the response, because in that case it's null, it can be zero, it can be empty string, it can be anything. And it's usually useful when you see the status code and the response in full when error happens, instead of just knowing that it was 500, but you don't know any details about 500.
okay, yeah, I can add it in the next PR. Can we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So source class. Yeah, I changed types, converted types to interfaces as Nazar requested. I also created branded type for chain names. And this is our new property powerchains map, which is a map of powerchains basically.
Sorry guys, what's a branded type? Is that a new thing in TypeScript?
I understand, yeah, relatively new thing. So basically, if you have a string, but you have like to limit this string to particular applications. So you use branded types for that.
So Brandotype is essentially a concept somewhat similar to new types in Rust. So imagine you have lots of APIs, like lots of methods that accept strings, but those strings can be different. So like one string can be a hash of a block, the other string can be a valid URL and stuff like that. And you don't really distinguish between them if you're just using string. So branded type is an idea where you, instead of just using a string, you actually use a type alias essentially, which is an intersection like between string and some type which has a private property which you cannot construct. And then when you create a string in the first place, you just brand it as that specific type, and it behaves like a string, but it's like a little bit more than a string. And then you can use that as a type everywhere, and that allows you to have more type information throughout, and you cannot use a random string where like block hash is expected, because you need to validate that it is a block hash first, and then you can actually start using it. So this is just a thing that allows you to improve robustness basically of APIs.
Yeah, I will show you
Makes
how I
sense.
use it.
Thanks.
Okay, so what has changed in the source class? I converted most of the methods to return observable, so we can pipe results from one method to another, and it actually works pretty nice, much better than just promises. So subscribe heads method was converted. Now we use Rx, RPC, get block. Also we use Rx, IPC, and this method we already discussed previously. This one I haven't converted, it's on my to-do. Yeah, this is a method to get para blocks from the signed block. So first we get para heads and para IDs from the block. Then we, using this array of para heads and para IDs, we map over each item, and we go for the map and get the parachain by this para ID from the parachains map. If there is no parachain, we throw an error. And if everything is okay, then we fetch para block by providing para head. And we process this block. So currently this method is called add block metadata, but in my current branch, I renamed it. So basically what it does, we provide the actual block, the block hash, feed ID, and chains. And it creates metadata and returns an object with basically all these things and a stringified block. So it prepares data for transaction submission. So basically, block will be transaction data, feed ID is another parameter, metadata is third parameter, and we also provide chain name for logging, so we can see in logs which transaction which block is this transaction related. Yeah, and this is our method which we process para blocks. Block heads. So we extract hash from each finalized header, and this function accepts this header, and we request first relay block, then para blocks, then we add, same as we did with para blocks, we use this add block metadata function. And yeah, because both of these return observables, we merge them together. And yeah, basically this is what we return here. Any
Hey,
questions?
Serge, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you just refresh my memory on what the meaning of an observable is in JavaScript?
Yeah, so under the hood, Polka.js uses heavily library which is called RxJS. It follows like functional reactive paradigm, and they expose API, which is called API Rx. The standard API returns uses promises, and initially I started using promises, but now I understand that why they use Rx under the hood a lot, because there is a lot of like asynchronous stuff, and sometimes promises are not very useful. So it's a little bit more complicated with promises. RxJS utilizes this concept of streams of data. So every new block can be a stream of data. Every new header can be a stream of data. And you can subscribe to particular streams, and you can merge them, process them as streams. And yeah, what we do, we pipe them in the end to apply different functions to these items in the stream. And yeah, basically that's it.
Okay, so it just allows you to use like the streams API or stream style API to handle all this asynchronous. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Any other questions on source class? Okay. Target class. So yeah, we use logger. We still have signer. In the next PR, I will show you I removed signer, and yeah, we have two methods here currently. Do we have two or? Yeah, we have two methods. One method is sending block transaction, and another method is sending create feed transaction. So send block transaction accepts this object I mentioned before, which includes feed, block, metadata, and chain. Here I added log, so we know which chain and which feed ID this transaction is related. Yeah, we stringify metadata. And here it used to be console log. I use this current logger. Yeah, we submit transaction, we notify that there is new feed created, and we resolve this function returns a promise, and we resolve feed value. What else? Yeah, basically these are all changes for target. Yeah, so I added this generic type brand, and this is more specific chain name type, which utilizes this generic. And here, so I moved all the utility functions to utils module here. Maybe if it starts to grow, I will make them more specialized, but currently I keep it here. And I created this, yeah, I think I can resolve this so we can have a better view on the code. So this is a new function, create powerchains map, and it has parameter target because we need to send a transaction here, and it accepts also an array of parachain objects from config, which contain URL, parachain ID, and chain name, which is a hard-coded string. And here we use this branded type. We pass this string as chain name type. Yeah, so this part is a little bit not very readable. This will change in the next PR. This is already changed in the next PR. Yeah, and this function returns a promise, which is a parachains map, which we then provide to the source class. So here we create empty map, and we iterate over this array of parachains objects from config, and we send create feed transaction for each parachain, and then we create an instance of a parachain class which has feed ID, URL, chain name, logger, and we save this parachain using par ID as a key in this map. Yeah, that's it. Any questions on this branch, on this PR?
Have all the comments been resolved? Is it ready to be merged?
It is already merged.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you can see here. I just saved it so we can, yeah, I can show it. I will delete it later. Okay, so let's move on to my current branch. You can still see my screen. Okay, so this branch is dedicated to multiple, to adding multiple accounts. So in the previous one, we use same, basically single Alice account for everything, for creating feeds, for sending transactions, and yeah, I'm trying to change it in this branch. So this is cargo toml for Spartan runtime. It's a big div because it formatted it when I save. So basically here I have added palette proxy. So we can use.
Can you not apply such formatting, please?
Okay. Yeah, it's yeah, I can still change it. It's in progress. So yeah, I have added palette proxy. So we can create proxy accounts and retrieve what proxy accounts are associated with a particular account. And this is Spartan runtime librs. So I have added few traits here and parameter types. required for the proxy palette. Yeah, we have currently instance filter because I just copied it from the parity repository. Probably we might not need it at the moment because there are different proxy types. Proxy type for governance, for staking, for other stuff. I think we can start with any and then make it more restricted to particular cases. So this will be simplified. And this is palette proxy config, which uses these values. And I have added it to construct runtime here and some stuff for benchmarks. Okay, so currently we still use account seed in a .env file. And yeah, I did some refactoring for config. Nothing changed here, basically. I just moved this type, powerchains type, to types folder because we use it in multiple places. Yeah, so here we create instance of target class, and now we don't use any signer here. So all target class methods will accept signer as a parameter. So basically, yeah, I will show you. So here we create a master account, get a master account from the seed. And we create a source signer deriving from the same seed and providing a chain name as a derivation path. And we also derive accounts for powerchains. So, and we map iterate over all these accounts
sorry, Serge.
together.
Good
Right.
question here. So source signer would be like kusama, and parasigners would be the parachains.
Right. Every chain will have individual signer.
Okay.
So yeah, we have this source signer and parasigners, and for each of them we send add proxy transaction, and it will be signed by Alice, which is a master account, and every item in this array, it will be a delegate. So the account which will become a proxy for Alice. And yeah, everything else is the same. We use feed ID and we create parachains map. Here in the parachains class, yeah, we have signer field now. And that's it. For the source chain class, we also added signer. Yeah, some minor refactoring. Yeah, so this was add block metadata. Now I renamed it add block transaction data because it contains metadata and other stuff. And we also provide signer. Yeah, and here we have also added signer. So in the target, we removed signer, and this is send block transaction method. Yeah, currently I print, maybe it's not necessary in the future, but currently I print who is the signer of this transaction. Yeah, basically I have added also some error handling here because I expected that if this method fails, then we can still see the error in this subscribe method, but this is not exactly how it works, so I had to add this catch error operator, and we log error here.
And an error in that case would be like a nonce conflict?
Well, I was testing this, creating multiple accounts, and I was attempting to send transactions without funds. So I had error that there was not enough balance to pay for the fee.
Okay. And those are errors that would be on like the palette balances or palette proxy side where they'd be coming from?
I think it's probably palette balances error.
Okay.
Or maybe generic error, I don't know. Can be any error, basically. Depends on the transaction method. So currently we use call from palette feeds. So can be palette feed specific error. For example, like I know unknown feed ID or any other. And send create feed transaction. So previously it didn't have any parameters. Currently it has signer, and yeah, I print signer here, and also added some error handling. And I have added this method, send add proxy transaction. And I already mentioned it has signer parameter and proxy. Maybe should rename it to delegate. And yeah, it returns a promise on success. Yeah, and I print, and we add adding proxy and print address for signer and print signer address. What else? These are just types.
Chain is a string again?
Yeah, I will. I didn't imply it here, this update yet. Yeah, so now we also provide signers parameter here, because we need individual signer for each parachain, and we get it by index. Probably, yeah, probably it will contain source chain signer as well. I will double check. So we only have para signers here. No, should be fine. And yeah, we provide signer here when we create parachain instance. Yeah, I guess that's it. I wish I could show you demo, but I'm having some issues with Node today. I mentioned in the engineering thread. So after a recent update, yeah, I'm having issues on Mac. Probably other users have it too. That's it.
Okay. That's a really good update, Serge. Thank you. I got a little bit lost in the details there on the explanation on the last PR. So can you just summarize, maybe in plain English, where it's at right now?
But what was confusing for you? Like
what's the current status like in terms of the feature roadmap?
In terms of feature, so I have implemented this functionality. I tried to submit this create proxy, add proxy transactions, and so far it works okay. But since my node cannot produce new blocks, I got like an error, which was maybe I can show you. Yeah, invalid solution received. Some node in like protocol level error, and because it didn't produce new blocks, I couldn't basically test if it actually creates proxies on the Polkadot.apps UI. Yeah, does it answer your question?
And is that related to the Node.js error you were talking about, or is that a different error that you're getting?
No, I mean Spartan node.
Okay. Do we know what the issue is there?
Yeah, I posted, and Ozgun was trying to help me today, but yeah, there is still conversation ongoing.
Is this having to do with the CUDA compilation issues that we were having before?
It's related, yes, to CUDA.
Okay. Can you not fall back to like an older branch? Is that, or I guess what I'm asking, maybe, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I guess this is maybe more a question for Nazar. It feels like we are having a lot of like new code that like you or Oskin is pushing is like breaking what other people are working on, which is slightly unrelated. Is there like not a way that we can work off the last master, or are we wanting to work off like the latest branch that other people are working on? Do you see what I'm saying?
We really want to work from the latest one. Otherwise, we'll be unable to merge it. Basically, lots of things are changing, and like there were some minor problems. I just rechecked the main branch. If you have CUDA compiler available, it works just fine. It validates everything, and everything is good. So I wish you guys were able to like fix it on your own quickly instead of waiting for me, but we'll take care of it.
Okay. Okay, so the proxy feature is finished. We're just not able to really test it and validate it yet.
I think it will still require some configuration of the palette, proxy palette. Like I will remove the filtering stuff. And yeah, if I test and it works okay, then it's finished.
Okay, so from the chain spec, we just have one account, which is Alice, like at Genesis, and then everything else is derived after the fact.
It's derived from the same seed.
Okay, and it's starting to get a little bit complicated here. It might be helpful if we had like a flowchart in Lucid or some documentation about how this is working, so that we don't have to read the code to understand kind of the workflow. Because I'm just having a little bit of trouble mapping this in my head. Okay.
I can do when it gets more stable. Maybe I will do some refactoring, and yeah, I can do it.
Okay. So let me try to explain it back to you to make sure I understand how it works. So there's one account, Alice, when you instantiate the Spartan node, and then the relayer connects to the node and says, hey, let's create these delegate accounts, one for kusama source chain, and then 8 or 9 for all the parachains that are derived from Alice's seed. And then every time a new kusama block comes in, that block is sent under the kusama delegate account. So that's where the nonce and the signature is coming from, but it's paying from Alice's account. And then for all the parachain blocks, there's a separate delegate account which has its own nonce and its own signature, but all 9 or 10 of these are paying out of Alice's funds.
Right. Well, this is intended result.
Okay. What's left on that implementation wise?
Sorry.
What you said, that's the intended result. You just mean that's the way the code should be working, or there's more code to be added in to get it feature complete?
Yeah, I need to verify that it works as we expect.
Okay. Okay. So that's the immediate next step. You're blocked because Spartan node template won't compile for you, and you're also having issues getting Node.js to work.
No, Node.js works fine. I mean, Spartan node doesn't produce blocks.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's
but
what you meant with the node error. I thought you were saying Node.js
yeah,
was giving you errors.
no,
Okay,
no,
I get it. So it's all the same thing. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, once we resolve this CUDA for Mac, this will be, yeah, I will be unblocked. In the meantime, I can start working on updating pilot feeds, as we discussed before. Should be straightforward.
You mean to update the events to include the metadata and the size?
Yeah, so we can calculate. Well, we already have blocks, so we just start calculating total size.
Okay. Can you open up the board, or maybe Courtney, somebody could open up the board on the for the relayer, so we could look at the tasks.
Yeah, I can do it. Just give me a second.
But and we'll let you go next, Leo. I just want to close the loop here with what Serge has been working on before we transition.
Can you see Notion?
Yeah. Okay, so it's still in progress. Just need to test it, verify it.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other task would be the total objects.
Bottom one, pilot
Bottom
feeds
one.
at total object.
Yeah. So let's move that up to the top and not started, since that's the next next highest priority ticket. Dynamically get. What does dynamically get kusama parachains?
So currently we have parachains hard coded in the JSON, right? But we have new parachains on the Kusama launching every week, as far as I know. So
Right.
so we don't have to copy paste them and yeah, have this error unknown parachain I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a way we can make it more dynamic. We can get the parachain information. So from the Kusama node, we can request from the RPC, we can get para IDs. And using these para IDs, we can get the parachains we need.
Okay, makes sense.
So it can be done, yeah, without hard coding and relying on configuration.
Okay. Okay. And then block size limit. Since we have each block as its own transaction, then the block size limit is really not a big problem right now. It's definitely something we need to do, but I think that's lower priority. Okay.
What about this one? Was this? How would you describe the priority for this?
Medium. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, and then what do we got in the backlog? Put multiple tests, benchmarking. Okay, there's this submitted block. So that's another thing that we have to do is the size is 2x, right? Because we're not parsing the binary correctly on the client side.
Maybe bigger than 2x.
Okay. Okay, so let's create a ticket for that too. So this would be a not started because this is probably something that's higher priority. So what would we call that? Parse hex into binary correctly on client?
Yes, no?
Not really. Not parse hex. You mean, so we need to submit blocks as hex to the palette.
There we go. That's
as
it.
binary.
Well, it's
It's
binary, but
only JSON RPC where the hex is used.
Submit blocks as binary, hex in parentheses, to palette. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, and let's put that in the not started. So that would go in there.
What's the priority of that?
Below palette feeds and above relayer. So second in the queue.
Okay.
Okay, and let's just talk briefly about some other features that are coming to mind for me as I think about this. So the feedback I got from Robert Habermeyer at Polkadot Web3 Foundation was that this would be almost a done deal on Kusama paying for this if it was POV blocks. So there's the para blocks, and then they get erasure coded and expanded, and that's what gets submitted to the validators, the relay chain validators. But they only maintain those for like 24 hours and then they disappear. And he said it would be really useful if they could make it, if those were persistent. So, so there's a ticket here, which is basically backup POV, like P little O V, yep, blocks. And I think that's a bit of a research ticket, because I was asking him if that's possible to do. Like, can you request it from the validators in that way? Do you need to rederive it? Is there like a front end library that you can take? Because really it's deterministic, right? You can take a para block and you can expand it into a POV block. It's not clear if it's possible to do it in the front end, if it can only be done in the back end, like in Rust, or if it's something we can just request over an RPC. So I don't know exactly where we would get these blocks or if we would just make them ourselves, but it is something that we might want to look into.
Don't they want to expand them themselves? Like, we are already erasure coding it, so it's like just 2x cost for the storage. Just wasted.
I agree, but that's what they wanted. I explained that. I guess it's just simpler from their point of view if it's in that format, and they don't have to rely on some other node to expand it for them. Does that make sense to you, Serge?
I need to read more about POV blocks, but I kind of understand the direction.
Okay. Another thing is, especially now that Nazar has has Subspace to the point where it can accept this pre-Genesis data as objects, we need to figure out how we're going to preload all of the data of the parachains before we spin up the Subspace node, so that it basically has a full history of each parachain.
How would you word that? Preload parachain data.
Preload parachain data at Genesis. It's really it's source end parachain, really. It's just all archive chains.
Like that?
Sure, I think that gets the idea across. So this is, and I don't know what there's a lot of different ways we can do this. This is kind of a little bit of a conceptual research. We need to think about this a little bit before we implement it. But we need to, for example, for Kusama, when we spin up a Spartan node or a Subspace node, we should have some source of the history of Kusama, and every block should get uploaded as a separate object, like a pre-Genesis object. And then we should have some metadata. I think there were different ways Nazar and I talked about doing this, but I think maybe we decided on You would have some final metadata, which would be the starting feed metadata for it. So that whenever you launch, like after you have the Genesis block, then you can just start updating as it, as new blocks are produced. But it's going to be a little bit tricky to get that to be a smooth transition, so we don't have we don't miss a block. But it's something that we probably need to start by looking at how to do that for Kusama, and have like a pattern there. And then once we have that pattern, we would need to do that for all the parachains as well. And maybe we store this on disk. Maybe we have like a special script that does this for like a special machine. We could retrieve it from the network. It would probably take a while. I think that there's many different ways this can be done. It's not clear to me what the most efficient or maybe the fastest way to get this going would be, but it's something that we're going to need to figure out soon. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
So how this can potentially be implemented? Like, are we going to use Pilot for this, or it's an open question?
That's an open question. Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm asking. Is there's a lot of different ways we can implement this. I mean, the goal is basically we just want to preload the history so that, because right now with Relayer, we're just adding, like whenever we start Relayer, that's from the point of view of our chain, that's when that parachain history starts. But there's a whole bunch of history that we're missing. Like you had brought this up, several weeks ago. And we're at the point where Subspace can support some way of handling this. We just need to figure out how are we actually going to import that data into Subspace.
Well, there are still questions how to implement it exactly, because the way it's currently implemented, it doesn't really support large amounts of data. It's just very small amount generated from a seed. So I don't know. I would very much prefer to have this after Genesis. I don't see a big problem with that, but if you want to have it pre-Genesis, it's kind of an open question how to do it, even on the node side and on the farmer side, and everyone would have to have that data available before they even join like the network. Yeah.
Well, everyone wouldn't have to have the data, just whoever the bootstrap node is would have to have the data, and then the data would be retrievable from the farmer network just as any history would be after that point. I know that depends on a lot of things that are not done yet in terms of Subspace that we're working on over the next month, but I'm just trying to think about the architecture here a little bit. Okay, so that's one ticket. Another one is if the Relayer app goes down and it restarts, then it does have to sync up with the previous history. So there probably should be some way to, basically just to handle that like restarts or downtime. So if it goes down, we come back up, we check, well, what was the last object by pallet feeds for this feed? What was the last block height? What's the current block height of this parachain? 30 blocks are missing. Let's catch up with those 30 blocks, and then we'll start adding the new blocks in as they come.
Is that good for now?
Relayer resync, yeah, that captures it. So I think so. Go ahead.
Sorry, can we add the label like for research and for actual development?
Yeah, I was going to do that. I'm going to do it after the call. I just don't want to be messing around with the screen right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Serge. I do want to be clear. This is more like, let's just do a little bit of research and conceptual thinking than start implementing any of this. And maybe we can discuss it more in the next call if we've got time to do some of that research in the meantime. I'm just trying to get people thinking in the right direction right now. Okay. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you guys that are like open questions or outstanding questions about this? Like what I'm trying to get to is when we have Subspace v1, we upgrade to the public testnet that this app is running, and that we've got basically the full history of all these parachains backed up, and then it's just continuously working from there. Is there anything else that we think we need to capture here in the near term? Okay.
Maybe it will be nice to implement something like a backup endpoint RPC. For example, we have nodes hosted on different environments, like some are hosted by parity, some are hosted by on finality. And well, at some point, there might be a problem with particular endpoint. So it will be nice to have an alternative one.
Okay, like we would host our own, you mean?
Ideally, yes, but just to like few endpoints, to have few endpoints to request data from. One can be our own.
Okay, and when you mean data, when you say data, you mean an RPC, like an active RPC node
Yes.
for that network?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, similar like in Polkadot apps, we have
Mhm.
different like sources. Same chain, but we have different endpoints we can interact with.
And right now we're using on finality as the primary for all of them, right?
Mostly, yeah, except Kusama and Kusama state time.
And who are we using for those?
Let me check.
Parity.
Well, Kusama is parity and state mine probably parity as well.
Okay.
Yes, parity.
So I don't want to get into the business of us running infrastructure for all this stuff and us running these nodes. I think that the pattern should probably be something like on finality as primary, maybe parity as secondary, and then like tertiary would be if we can just plug directly into like the collator nodes of that network or the validator nodes of that network, and talk to them. You're giving me a really strange look, Nazar. What's the matter?
I'm not sure.
Will
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
actually run this? Not like parachains themselves or someone controlling it? Like, will we maintain all of this infrastructure ourselves? I think it would make more sense if they have their like parachains running and they're connecting to their trusted nodes instead of just connecting to on finality and trusted them with everything. It would be more reliable, and you would have more reliability in that as well. So everything that you want to back up, you would basically run the node for corresponding chain.
Oh, you're saying under the context where, like, if I'm Moonbeam, I'm running a relayer just for Moonbeam and connecting to
Yes.
my. Okay, that's probably not the way it's going to. I mean, I don't realistically expect that that's going to happen. I don't expect we're going to be able to convince all these different parachains to run and maintain these things. If we want to back this data up, we're probably going to have the infrastructure to and by infrastructure I mean like a single node, like in this case, to be the glue between their networks and our network.
It's, in my opinion, it's kind of annoying, and they're basically putting a lot of trust into us, and it would make more sense for them to just maintain their own infrastructure for that. It will be like another application that just take off the shelf and deploy with some configuration.
Well, that's what I was originally trying to do with making this a Rust palette or a substrate palette, so that they would just run it on top of their current nodes or alongside their current nodes. And then that would handle that problem. But in this front end case, this really makes more sense in like a consolidated way where we run it for everybody versus
Well, it's
like
not front end; it's the backend application, and you don't even need to insert a palette to modify your software. You just run another container. They probably already run containers. So it's just a matter of like adding a new template to Monk configuration or whatever they have. It should be really easy. And if they don't want to use it anymore, they will just delete it. Just a little bit concerning if we end up running everything for everyone. Just a lot of burden for us.
Okay, let's push that to another conversation. We could spend a lot of time talking about that. We still got some info to cover. I guess my point was just if we have a backup endpoint RPC, it should be, it should be connecting into that network itself versus us running infrastructure for that network, like running our own RPC endpoint for those parachains. Did you have something you wanted to add to that, Serge?
I wanted to clarify what they mean by connecting to collator node. Is it even possible to connect? Like, do they have RPC API, public one?
Yeah, I mean, that's how. I mean, how else does the data spread from the network, right? It's just like connecting to a Bitcoin node. They have their, like, somebody's getting that data. That's where the blocks are being gossiped from.
Okay.
Like, for instance, in StateMine, I know that they run 4 validator nodes, but anybody can run like that's run by parity, but anybody can run like a volunteer node, but they're all connected over the same gossip overlay network. So I don't know if maybe they have a bootstrap node, maybe that's the parity one, but we should be able to connect somewhere. Like it's a decentralized network, right? It's not like there's just some like single trusted endpoint to get into the network.
Okay.
Okay, so I think Serge, you've got enough stuff to work on right now for the foreseeable future.
It seems like.
Okay, and do you have an estimate on when when you'll have this proxy accounts demonstrated working, and also these additional metadata features that Leo needs for the front end?
Realistically, next week, like Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
If all goes well with the Spartan node, with CUDA issue.
Okay. Okay. The sooner we can do that, the better. And if we can deploy them incrementally, one at a time, that would be better too. So I know you're working hard on that. Okay. All right. Let's switch gears. Any questions for Serge from the group before we switch gears to Leo?
Just curious about time. We're going to continue.
Don't we have an hour and a half?
We do.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Leo, you're up next. If you want to give us an update on where you're at with the user interface for the relay.
You're muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Leo.
Oh, sorry. Up to yesterday, actually, the relayer backend, it was working, but today I got the latest updates. And after the feeds are created, I'm going to share my screen. I'm receiving like an unknown para ID undefined error, and the apps crashed, so I cannot get more information like in a live mode. So I was working with some mocking, some mocks data that I created in the React app. I don't know if you are receiving this, Serge. Actually, I'm going to zoom in to maybe. It's always in here in the new feed created 9. it's crashed and I got this
It's
error.
to the question of validating things. It shouldn't crash there. It should crash earlier, where the actual problem happens.
So that's the reason I
know.
don't have this like working right now.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
I can work with previous commits, maybe for now.
no. It's probably new parachain was added. So with this is error my application throws unknown para ID.
Okay. So I will wait to have this fixed to keep working in a light mode with the backend, actually. But
Okay, let's pause for a sec, Leo, and talk about that. So for this, so is that something that we need to add as a task then, Serge, to handle that error until we are able to dynamically capture these new pair IDs?
If this is what I think, then we should just add parachain to the configuration. One more parachain.
Well, sure, but if a new parachain's added, then it'll just break the app again, right? So should we just handle this error?
Yeah, I can just keep creating, keep this block then, if we don't know this parachain.
Okay, can you add that as a ticket to the board, Courtney? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Awesome.
I'll add it.
Okay. So in the meantime, so basically this is like breaking the whole app for you right now, Leo. You can't just like ignore this data.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose that I can include in there some fast try catch and skip the error just for testing.
Okay.
And
yeah, if
keep
not, if
working
you
with
want to
that.
back up to an old commit or something, like let's figure out a workaround until we get that.
Yeah. Sure.
Until Serge gets that deployed.
Old commit won't help.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because it is like a new para block in the kusama block. So
talking about this, actually, this dynamically adding parachains in the front end, I will, for now, I have to manually include a new parachain in the front end, actually, because I don't have a way to query all the parachains that are being synced right now.
well,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You can add, like on how they do on Polkadot apps. They have a JSON of parachains, both those who applied for a slot and those who are already live. And it's like a relatively big JSON. And they have this request to the RPC to get the para IDs of active parachains. So they just get these para IDs and get the data from this big JSON, which contains all the chains, both live and potential.
Yeah, I understand. I should have this JSON and manually edited and adding a parachain and just handling all in that JSON. I was thinking something similar to do this, so I think that I will handle that way for now.
Yeah, I think for now, let's just, if there's a parachain or a feed that you don't recognize from the front end, we just need to ignore it so it doesn't break the app. But if we can manually update it like after the fact, that's okay. Then we can figure out how to make it like dynamic and perfect. But I don't want to spend a lot of time, you know, getting this like super perfect dynamic fetching right now. Does that make sense?
See, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And I have been working in having this all in components, and I included a couple of CSS to make it a little more decent. And I splitted this in 4 components for the header, the navbar, and this is also dynamically. And as this is broken, I cannot show the data right now, but I was working in this chain table to show the block size and the hashes and everything. So I've been working in that. I still don't have a commit up there because the latest PR that I made is not approved yet. Maybe we can work with that. I don't know. So
Sorry, can you say that again? The latest what's not public?
No, the latest commit that I made, the latest PR to init the application in the master branch is still not merged to the master branch. So I am working also in another branch that is called add React component that it's actually what I was doing, where I created this simple footer to have all separated. This header actually that's just contain the blocks and these cards in here. I have added this parachain row where I have this component receiving the parachain information from a props, and that props is sent from here from the parachain table. Right now I am working with the mock parachains where I am just mocking this data for Kusama.
Hey Leo, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but I much prefer it if we can review changes in the code in GitHub versus looking directly at the code in the IDE.
That's what I meant. I still not pushing
but
this.
But you can still push another branch to GitHub. There is nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I maybe can do that right now.
You don't have to do it right now. I'm just saying, just in the future. We really want to GitHub is the preferred way to review stuff, and it's totally okay to push working code into a working branch even if it's not ready to be submitted for review. And we would prefer that you do that before the calls.
Okay.
So that
I was expecting to close this and made a push for this branch, but basically, just to end this review, I created this parachain JSON with this mock data, and also I have added a couple of packaging here to have this CSS and Bootstrap like extended with a couple of fonts, and I added some moments to handle these dates and timestamps to have a beautified version of the times. And I think that's it. I created these scripts to compile CSS and work with Diana in the future with Diana guidelines in a faster way, actually. And yeah, that's what I was doing between yesterday and today in the morning. Up to I got this error, like I said, that I cannot keep like feeding data from the chains. I also have these problems with the CUDA interface, and the same problem that
you guys hear Leo?
I think we lost him.
Let's give him a second. Hey Leo, we can't hear you right now. You're frozen. If you can hear us.
Sorry, I don't know why I got disconnected. But
okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I added those latest CSS with SAS actually to work with Diana guidelines. And today I think that I will be ending these queries to the states actually. And with that, I think that I can have the first version closed. I think it's not too much work to be closed.
Okay. Can you show us a demo with the mock data? Is that working?
Yeah, it's what what I was showing right now, actually.
Oh, I didn't see any data in the UI. It looks just like an empty table.
Can you see my screen? Oh.
Yeah, but you had mock data, so it doesn't look like the table fields are populated right now.
Yeah. I was previously I was working with this and adding this to the tables actually, and I am getting the JSON, but I don't know why it's not showing, and maybe sometimes missing, I think. So I will be adding this in the afternoon actually, because I was inserting in here actually as a props, and getting the mock powerchain.kusama, and I got the information in here, but in the row I was inserting this in here, in here, and in here, and it's not showing. I have to check why it's blank, because actually in the console log is actually showing the information.
Okay, so
but it should be really fast too. So I don't know.
Okay, so you've got 3 blockers right now. You can't run a Spartan node because of the CUDA compilation issue.
No, I have that working. What I don't
you
have
fixed
is
that.
the relayer. Is the relayer that is like crashing after with this par ID undefined.
Okay, right.
But
okay,
the basic components are done. I just have to fix that unknown par ID and go back to connect this to the node and show this data in the front end.
okay. And can you handle that yourself temporarily, or do you need to wait on Serge to fix that and pull that down?
I will try doing this try catch to skip the error and see if the next par ID is recognized, and if that works, I can work with that for now as a
You
workaround.
don't need a try catch. You probably need like a check where you extracted par ID from. If it's like undefined because you don't have it in a map, you don't need to like print a warning. Just move on.
Okay, yes, I have to check that workaround, and if that works, and I can work with that while Serge sends some updates on this.
Okay. And I'm looking at this user interface here. We wanted to include the last block hash as well, right? For the pair block, not just the last block height.
Okay, I will add that. It was not in the comments. Yeah.
It wasn't in the what?
In the Figma.
It wasn't? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was.
Let's check it.
Okay.
Yeah, we added. Okay, yeah. I will add that. It's not a problem. It's just adding one field in the table.
Yeah, that shouldn't be hard. Okay. Can you go back to the UI, please? The one that you built?
Yep.
Okay.
For the block size, actually, I am getting the data and transforming the script to bytes and having a parse to kilobytes.
Awesome. Okay.
And for now, I think that it's enough. Maybe later we will have that size in the metadata itself. I don't know, but for now, I think that works.
Okay. So after you handle the unknown pair ID error and you figure out why the front end can't parse the data, it should just work with everything that we have. Like if you run a relayer.
Yeah, actually, maybe I can start a local node in a virtual machine and have it connected to that and publish, I don't know, maybe the initial version to a CDN and keep updated with the latest changes.
We don't need to do that just yet. Let's wait to deploy it until we have like a demo that we can look at and give some feedback on. But if you could just get it running like locally and like do a screenshot, whenever you get it up to that point and throw it up on Discord, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. But that would be okay. So any questions or comments from the group for Leo on this? Okay. So it looks like this is pretty close to being at a version 1, Leo. I mean, there's maybe some like stylistic stuff we can do, but in terms of functionality, it looks like it's pretty much there once we just connect these final dots.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Okay, let's switch to the board. If you want to pull that up, Courtney. Thanks, Leo. Or yeah, if you can pull it up too, that's fine. Either one of you guys.
Yeah, you have this relayer up, and maybe we should.
I thought we said the other day we were going to move this over to the other board.
Here.
Yeah. Okay.
In progress. There is no typing here. Oh.
Yeah, not yet. Do you want me to add it for you? What do you want in there?
Yeah, please, if you can help me in that, should be.
Okay, what do you want?
To add a type to have the task
Okay.
label, something like that.
Okay, hang on, it's done. What do you want it to be called? Task?
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, and then so now there's another task which we can add in here of deploying this to a CDN and getting it production ready, which we're going to wait till we get this done, but we can just add that in here. Okay, and we also need to figure out a solution for, or sorry, go ahead, I'll just finish that. Okay, we need to figure out a solution for how to dynamically fetch or manage the new parachains as they're added.
I think that will be covered in here in the relayer app version 1, because like I said, like Serge said, we can handle this for now in a JSON file. Or you mean to dynamically in the future?
I mean the next version of it when it's more robust. I just want to get that captured here. Yeah, right now it's going to be very manual the way that we handle that in the current version.
Well, it will still be a little bit manual. I mean, someone has to put data in the JSON or copy JSON from the Polkadot apps. We can basically get data from Polkadot apps because this is probably the best source for us.
But we can do like a fetch query for the JSON file right from GitHub.
Yeah, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
But someone has to put data in the JSON on parity side or.
Well, if it's on parity side, then it's basically automated from our point of view, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know, is something else to add?
I'm thinking about that. There's nothing that immediately comes to mind. Do you guys have any ideas on like next steps here, or what we might need to do to make this more robust or production ready?
Well, the fact that we are using Alice seed and we derive every other account from it is, I think, a problem. We should be able to have completely like independent accounts. Like again, I'm thinking from the point of view where we are not running everything. So maybe like someone can populate an account and then they can tell us the public key and we can like create a proxy for it and they can run the relayer for their powerchain on their own. Or like, let's say someone else has like a master account where they have some funds and someone else can just connect to it. So ideally it shouldn't be derived from the same seed, because in that case they control the parent account. It should be like properly independent.
Okay, that'd be something more for the back end than the front end though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. That's a ticket we should add, Courtney, if you can add that. That we need to figure out a way to make the account. I guess I'm trying to think how to word this. Basically, we need to make the relayer. I mean, there's a whole nother large task here of figuring out what is the upgrade path from like trusted centralized relayer to like decentralized relayer to para thread to para bridge or parachain bridge. And I think this is part of that like larger path that we have to make. But maybe the specific thing here is that we just need to stop using a single account to pay for all the parachains. Figure out what the next steps are going to be there. I mean, we might end up doing that if we do get this motion on Kusama approved. That might actually be the way that it works long term. Is there's just one account which handles all this, or one parent account at least. But that's still an open question.
At least something to think about, like what are the options?
Absolutely, and this is something that we probably need to have I'm planning to set aside time at the offsite to discuss this as well in more detail.
How can I write this here in the board?
Just you could say stop using a single account, or explore options to stop using a single account for paying for paying the cost of storage or whatever for archiving.
Something like that.
Yeah, just change exploit to explore.
Oh, sorry.
Cool. Thanks, Leo. Okay. I think we're about done. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss here? Courtney, any questions from your end?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, guys. So next steps are really critical here. We'd like to be able to demonstrate this as soon as possible. Leo, if you can just get us a demo with running locally of what this looks like, and post that to Discord, today, tomorrow, by the end of the week. Serge, if you can just keep working on getting these last few tasks finished, then I think by early next week we should be able to have kind of the two halves put together, and maybe even have then we can start working on getting the relayer running in on our infrastructure, and the front end app deployed on a CDN. And then the next step is we're going to show this on our website. And like I've literally got a bunch of people who said, I'd really love to see a demo of this. When can you send me a link? When can you show it to me? So that's what we're trying to get towards. It's just, literally a link I can pass to somebody where they can go and they can see, oh yeah, my parachain is being backed up right now, and it's in real time, and it's just running. Now it's not going to have the full history. It might break. It's not going to be perfect, but it paints the picture. Okay. So thanks. Appreciate the hard work from both you guys, and really look forward to seeing this project come to a version 1 very soon. Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow with the all hands meeting.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
All right, cheers.
Bye.